Hello viewers, I'm Discount Metal Gear, welcome back to the channel. Hope you liked that little intro to set the mood for a terrific race, one of the most entertaining races I've had in GT Sport in a long time. It's Manic Up at Tokyo South Inner Loop, and I'm starting out of position down in 6th. Got blocked during qualifying while I was over half a second up, so let's get underway. So the strategy in today's race is going to be all about getting the best bang for your buck when it comes to fuel, so pretty much how I'm driving in real life. But from watching practice lobbies, I noticed that the Japanese drivers like to fuel save a little too much, running around fuel map 3 or 4. So it's important not to fall into the trap of just trundling around behind these guys, thinking you could save fuel when you could actually be going a lot faster and pulling a gap. So we have this Sirocco in front of us. We're already trying to get past him as we round onto the back straight here. Gonna be up in his slipstream and just pull out. Usually I wouldn't advise to pass in a place like this, and that's the exact reason why he tries to close the door there, and lucky we didn't have one of those ping pong physics effects where one of us gets shot off into the wall. So we're up into 5th already, the midway point of the first lap. So checking out the leaders, we have 2 Huracans at the front, followed by a Corvette and a Nissan GTR, all Japanese drivers. In fact, I think the only Australians in this race are myself, Ando, who is currently running in 8th, and Captain Muffin, who I believe was a bit further back, maybe qualified around 15th, I think. So we'll speed it up as we complete the first lap. This track at Tokyo is very interesting. It's tricky with its combination of fast sweeping corners that lead onto very long straights. It's very important to be precise. And then we have this section that we just went through the docks, where it's very easy to pick up a penalty. You have to be very careful through there not to take too much of the curb. So you have this quick right-hander here leading onto this very long back straight, and we'll speed it up once again as we come down towards the hairpin, and the Nissan GTR is going to leave the door open, so we'll take that position, thank you very much, up to 4th place now, making good progress. Speeding things up again, you can see how quickly we're catching the group up ahead. I think the Lamborghinis are running fuel maps, so they're very slow on the straight. So we're going to give the Corvette a little bump draft here, and he says thank you. And then what you'll see is me just lifting off the throttle to coast into the corner. Now this is for 2 reasons. The first is to save fuel, and the second is to leave plenty of room in case the driver in front brakes too early. And actually, as we come through the docks here, you see I just turn in a little bit early and have a moment of panic thinking I'm going to get a cut penalty, but I managed to get away with it. So as I was saying, when you're racing with drivers that you don't know, you need to practice a little caution when you're following until you learn what their driving is like. So we're going to speed it up again, another little bump draft there for the Corvette, and then as we approach the hairpin, we have a little look up the inside, but decide not to go for a move. And you can see the GTR is back up behind us as well. So skipping forward now to the 4th lap, once again as we go through the dock section, I'm a little bit closer this time than what I was on the last lap after having a little hesitation, and you see that the leader there actually served a penalty and he's dropped back down to second. So we'll speed it up again, a few more bump drafts for the Corvette, and this time we are going to just duck up the inside like we did against the GTR, leave space there on the exit, and then we get the better run out of the corner in the slipstream of the Huracan. So jumping up ahead now to the 5th lap, and you can see just how slow the Huracan has gone through that first corner there. It's really frustrating to follow behind because we have a little bit of a gap to the cars behind at this point, and so this Huracan that's currently running second, he was in the lead before, and it looks like these two might actually be working together because the Huracan definitely did let him through. So it's Huracan versus Sirocco here, so we're going to follow them through the dock section. You see the 4-wheel drive cars, they're much better through that section of the track than what the Sirocco is. The Sirocco, its strength is in a straight line, not so much in turning and accelerating at the same time. So as we are now about a third of the way through the race, we'll look at the leaders. You can see we're all running around 50% tank left, so no one has gained a big advantage at this point. And that was the point I was making earlier, that the Japanese drivers are running around at a much slower pace and not really benefiting from it. I think if I'd started on the front row, I could have had a 2 or 3 second gap by now, and that would have allowed me to take on new tyres at the pit stop, which is coming up in a few laps, which would have been a big advantage. And so you're going to see, look how slow the Huracan is going through there, and I'm on my high beam flashing him, trying to give him the hurry along, because I want to try and pull a gap to the cars that are behind us, just in case, you know, we have any problems with tyres later in the race, or if we have to fuel save a little bit more later. So we're going to go for the move now on this Huracan. He leaves the door open, and we take the inside line through the docks, and are able to make it stick with just about no trouble at all. That allows the Huracan up ahead to pull out a little bit, but we will quickly catch up to him because he is fuel saving. So we're jumping ahead later in the lap as we come up to the S's, and you can see we've already caught up to him within the space of half a lap. So you see he runs a little bit wide there through the S's. That really compromises him, and we're going to catch right up to him as we go through this final corner. Now this final corner is a very tricky one, as many of you who are doing the Olympic time trial will know, and so we'll speed it up once more. We're trying to give him a little bit of a bump to make our breakaway, because usually you don't want to go for an overtake in this section. You'll just end up losing time to the cars behind, and with such a long straight following immediately after, it's very hard to defend the position if you don't have any slipstream from another car up ahead. So we'll speed things up once more, and you can see I'm still bump drafting and trying to build as much as a gap to the group behind as possible before it's time to pit. We have enough fuel for one more lap, so let's just skip ahead now to the end of we're midway through lap 8 as we dive into the pits.
6.5 hours later.
So I decided not to change tyres and fueled up to 94 litres. I was pretty much on the fence about whether to change tyres or not, but I just spent 8 laps overtaking slower cars and I didn't want to do it again, so I opted to save track position. And you see we're out ahead of the Huracan, so effectively in the lead of the race when those ahead of us will complete their stops. But time will tell whether the decision not to take on fresh tyres will hurt us or not. Obviously, with Sirocco being a front-wheel drive car, we are going to start to suffer on the tyres a little bit more than those behind us. So we're skipping up to the end of the 9th lap now, and you can see now the Huracan is actually going to give us the bump draft, which we have there written on the back of our car, and we just give him the hazards to thank him. So we go through the hairpin, and that's probably the first mistake I've made this race, is just going a little bit deep there into the hairpin. And you see that the other Huracan, who was running second earlier in the race, he's now come out, and he is back up into third after I think he'd fallen down to 4th or 5th. So he went a lap longer than the rest of us, and I guess he had managed to save that little bit more petrol. But as we follow along with the Huracan, you can see that we're starting to pull away from him actually, and this is basically what I wanted to do from the start of the race is pull away and get out of the slipstream and build that gap up so that we could have taken on fresh tires and even taken on more fuel if we wanted to. But as it was, I ended up taking on more fuel than I usually do. As we see that the GTR, he is now moved past the Corvette. He is now up into third place and doing quite well. But this group of three, they're about, I'd say, 2 seconds behind where myself and the Huracan are. And just during these laps, I'm trying to pull out of the Huracan's slipstream, but he just keeps on just managing to get back into it through the dock section, because as we get later on in the race, I'm just going to lose more and more time through that dock section, and the four-wheel drive already has the advantage of the Sirocco in that part of the track. But then I would usually manage to find a gap through these S's where I was just a little bit more precise in my driving than what he was. We saw when we were following him before, he was usually missing the apexes and would sometimes hit the wall on the exit or the entry into the corner, that last corner there. Skipping ahead now to the end of the 11th lap, we're riding on board with the Nissan GTR as we go through the S's. And you can see he's catching the Huracan up ahead. Huracan touches the wall there on the entry and the exit of the corner. So we'll speed up and you'll see that the Nissan GTR is going to have a look down the outside as we come into the dock section. But he's probably not going to be able to make it stick around the outside there. As you can see, there's a lot of discarded rubber on the outside, not much grip on that part of the track, so pass around the outside is not really possible. But we're going to cut up ahead now to the hairpin, and you'll see the Huracan. He runs deep this time, and the Nissan GTR is going to have a drag race with the Huracan up the hill, but the Huracan somehow gets good purchase out of his tires and manages to hold on to the position. So there's a good little battle here for second, and now it looks like the Corvette is going to want to join in. Meanwhile, I'm out in front by about 2 seconds at this point and wondering what I'm going to have for dinner when we get to the checkered flag. So it seems like it's easy sailing here, but you never know what's going to happen in GT Sport. So as we skip up ahead now towards the docks once again, and this time the Nissan GTR just has so much more speed. It's almost like a DRS pass in Formula 1. He gets past, and yeah, the move is done even before they get into the braking zone. So now the Nissan GTR is up into second, and he's set the fastest lap earlier in this race, so we have to watch out from behind to make sure he doesn't get up into our slipstream. On the 14th lap now, and the GTR has already halved the gap down to a second as we come round onto the back straight, and I make my second minor mistake and graze the wall on exit, which costs us a bit of speed, and this is going to help the GTR close up. As you can see, he's actually purple through the first sector. His tyres are in great condition still, and he's just going to close up on us so fast. That thing really is a beast in a straight line once it has the slipstream. He's up over 250 kilometers per hour up. I think he tops out here at 261, and he has such a good run. I'm actually going to have to defend the inside line, but he brakes in a straight line and tries to shorten the angle of the corner for a better exit, and you see he's just a rocket off the corner, but he's going to run out of space as we run up onto the highway. So I've managed to survive this attack, but it's going to be a difficult final lap and a half to defend from a car that clearly has a big pace advantage at this stage of the race. So we just have to be ultra careful through here, just to make sure that we hook up every single apex, not make any mistakes, don't hit the wall again. So we come around this final corner for the penultimate time. We get a good exit this time round, but he is right up in our slipstream, so we'll speed it up a little bit as we run down towards the dock section. And is he going to have a go into the docks? He goes over to the outside, so he's taking the racing line, which forces me onto the inside. He's going to try and go around the outside. He has the lead, but he runs a little bit wide, gets out on the marbles. That gives me the inside line for these secondary corners, and we've managed to stay ahead once again. But this is tense stuff here on the final lap of this Manufacturer Series race, number 6 here at Tokyo Expressway South Inner Loop. So we come onto the back straight for the final time. We now have the Hurricane and the Corvette not that far behind, so we can't afford to make any mistakes here, because if you know, we have some kind of incident, we could, you know, drop off the podium even. So as we come down through the tunnel, you can see that the Nissan has a great run of us once again, and he is going to go to the inside. I go to the inside, and unfortunately he just goes right to the absolute extreme inside of the track. Is he going to get us slowed down in time? Yes, he does. Just wow, just great driving from the Japanese driver, and unfortunately he gets ahead of us. Yeah, it was one of those situations where I went to the inside, but he just goes to the extreme inside, and I have to, you know, make the decision. If I try and defend, we'll just end up with an accident. So now my only hope is that he makes some kind of mistake as we go through this S's section for the final time. Will he maybe run out of fuel? We have enough that we can absolutely push. So he grazes the wall there, but it's on the entry, not on the exit. He manages to hook it up through the exit. Will he have enough fuel to get over the line? I'm going flat out trying to catch him, but no, it looks like he has got the job done. So congratulations to him. Unfortunate result for us that we lose the lead on the last lap. If we'd managed to, you know, qualify on the front row, I think we could have really ran away with this race from the beginning and built up enough gap that either we could have switched to fresher tires at the pit stop, or, you know, we just would have had enough a gap to defend at the end. But as it was, second place, we have to be happy with that, and it was a great race. And yeah, so if you enjoyed this video, please hit like, subscribe if you aren't already subscribed to the channel, and we'll see you next time with another video. Peace out for now.